Exchange rates. Why has the value of the pound tumbled? The value of the pound has fallen to a record low against the dollar after the UK government announced large tax cuts funded by borrowing. The pound has also dropped against the euro. The pound's value affects everyone, from holidaymakers and shoppers to business owners and investors. How does a weakening pound affect me? A fall in the pound can have a significant effect on household finances. If the pound is worth less, the cost of buying goods from overseas goes up. This adds to the pressure on the cost of living. For example, as oil is priced in dollars, a weak pound can make filling up your car with petrol more expensive. Gas is also priced in dollars. Technology goods like iPhones that are made abroad may get more expensive in UK shops. Even things that are made in the UK but from parts that are bought abroad can get much more expensive. Many people don't think about exchange rates until it's time to swap money for a foreign holiday. When you travel abroad, things will be more expensive if the pound buys less of the local currency. Why has the pound tumbled? The pound plummeted in response to the Conservative government's huge tax-cutting mini-budget, dropping sharply as Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng spoke on Friday. It then plunged again in early trading on Monday, reaching $1.04, the lowest pound versus dollar level there has ever been. The sell-off showed investors have doubts about the government's plans, said Jane Foley, a currency strategist at Rabobank. They're worried that some of these tax cuts that have been announced aren't going to be fully funded. That will result in a large amount of debt at a time when the Bank of England is going to be selling some of its holdings of UK government debt, she said. Investors' concerns over the UK's public finances have also led to a sharp increase in the cost of government borrowing. When governments want to borrow, they sell bonds, usually bought by international investors. However, the interest on 10-year bonds has risen from 3.83% on Friday to 4.11%. This shows, according to Paul Dales from Capital Economics, that markets are worried that the government's tax cuts will force the Bank of England to raise interest rates higher, and a deterioration in the public finances will undermine the UK's long-term growth prospects. Why was the pound falling before the mini-budget? The pound was already sliding against the dollar in the weeks leading up to the mini-budget, partly down to the wider strength of the US dollar. It was trading at $1.135 earlier in September, the first time it had fallen below the 1.14 mark in nearly 4 decades. The cost of living is rising at its fastest rate in 40 years, with food, fuel and energy prices all up. This year, the pound has fallen more against the dollar than other currencies. How is currency valued? When people talk about the pound rising or falling, it means it can buy more or less of a foreign currency because the exchange rate has changed. Very often the pound is compared with the US dollar, given the huge size of the American economy. It is also frequently compared with the euro, because of the UK's close trading relationship with the EU, but can be matched to any currency around the world. Today, most countries use what is called a floating exchange rate, where the value depends on how much people want a certain currency at a point in time. Exchange rates are live, meaning they change constantly because they reflect changing demand for each country's currency across the globe. Demand is affected by lots of different factors, including economy. Successful economies have strong currencies because other countries want to invest there. They need the local currency to do so, pushing up demand and its value. Savings. If the Bank of England raises interest rates, holding savings or investments in pounds becomes more attractive, as you get more back for your money. So, demand for sterling increases. Prices. If UK goods are cheaper than those abroad, they are attractive to foreign businesses who need sterling to purchase them. This will tend to push up the exchange rate. Public finances. The state of a government's bank balance or how much debt it has can also affect the exchange rate. Speculation. The exchange rate is highly vulnerable to currency speculators who buy and sell sterling based on expectations of future events. Much of the daily fluctuation in the exchange rate is because of these actions of the speculators and their confidence in a country's economic prospects.